Alright, so very carefully remove this bracket. This is if you want to run the full radiator, like I've said. So you've got 5 spot welds across the front and 4 underneath. So as you can see, and then basically we're going to be remounting it literally about here somewhere. So it's gone from there to here. So I'll take this bracket out of the way. The best way to do this is literally put the radiator in, put these mounts back on, hold it all in place, put that in, and either tech screw it or clamp it if there's a way you can clamp it, just to work out where it needs to sit. Once you figure that out, then you can just weld it in, and then it's done. It's a very easy thing to do if you've got the right tools. So the last thing you want to do is drill holes through that mount. So if you can find spot weld drill bits, it's the easiest way to remove it. Alright, so as you see, bolted up, and just need to weld it in. So I'll have to I still need to bring the mount forward a little bit because it's not quite there, but I'll just tap it in place. That's it. Weld it up, and then you've got a spot for a full radiator. Alright, so yesterday was quite a nice day, and today is not. As you can see, it's pretty getting rained on. So I've pulled the engine harness and I've wrapped it all up. So I've re-wrapped it all, so it's not that crappy conduit anymore. It's actually quite nice. I do want to give this a bit of a clean, but obviously with this weather I can't. It's too hard. So we'll see how we go in the future. So the main reason for putting the harness in was so I could then start looking at getting the dash and that in. But I still need to get this bracket welded, like I said yesterday. But obviously with this weather I can't. As soon as that's welded, I can get the front harness in, because the one that would normally go through here, in through this hole here, because that hole's not there, I don't want to put a dash in and then try and figure out later. I want to do it all before the dash goes in. I still need to pull all this out, but for now it's kind of just going to stay here because I need to take the seats, because it all comes across, goes into these areas, and I kind of want to film that bit so you can see what needs to be done. These are all still the Proton air boxes. This can, as far as I know, the plugs haven't changed here, so these will be retained. But once I get the harness across here, I'll know if it's all the same. Yeah. Yeah, so I did want to clean this up. I actually wanted to do a bit more to it, but because of the weather and with me now doing more stuff, I'm not going to be able to do what I originally wanted to do to it. So I'll just leave it at that. I am waiting for the flywheel to arrive. As soon as that arrives, I can then get it machined. I can do the rear main seal, chuck it all in. Then I can get the box. So we are retaining the original box for now. Whether it's going to last, I don't know, but in saying that, I have seen people use 1.5 litre boxes on even Evo motors. So yeah, we'll just go for that. I have started fixing, so I've put the new CAS plug in. Like I said, I've done all the wiring. Once it's welded, once the box is together, the motor goes in, then I can start working out the intercooler, because we are running a full, the full size cooler, which means I'm going to have to make it all fit behind this bumper and try and keep it somewhat legal looking. Yeah, so we are slowly coming together. Hopefully tomorrow will be a much better day, so I can get that welded and I can start getting more and more stuff done. I've got a little apprentice helping me. Yeah, so we'll just see how we go. I'll keep going and try and keep you updated. Alright, so we had a decent break in the rain, so I welded that in. She's all in there now, and I started putting the front harness in. So like I said, this one here is the one that needs to go through, would be that spot there. So you can either make the hole to make this clip in, but I know it's a bit of work, because look at the size of it. Or you can try and get it to go through and grommet there. Can't remember how I did it on my car when I built mine, but I know I put it through there somehow. Maybe I did make a hole, I don't know. But anyway, I'll figure that out a bit later. But yeah, so the harness is going in. I've got it in the car, that's in there. So now I can start putting, do the ECU, so I can actually get that properly mounted now and tucked away, and get the airbox back in. Yeah, so I can get all this run properly. I can get the other one that comes over here for the engine control relay. Put the airbox back, and then I can run the interior loom and start getting ready to put the dash in. So that will be probably tomorrow. I'm just going to finish off tidying all this front area up. To make sure it's all there. Everything is going together nicely. So obviously it's been a while since I worked on one of these. So it's all in there in the memory. It's just trying to remember it all properly. One thing you will have to change, you don't have to change it. These accelerator cables, they're slightly different on the GSR and Evo and Lancer and all that. When I did my 93P conversion, I had to build a little adapter because the bracketry where the Jumbuck one, yeah, that's it, it's longer. So I had to make a bracket to move this further back to make it work. So you don't have to change your cable, you can just put a piece of flat plate or a bit of angle or whatever you want, because you just got to move this. But if you can get the Lancer one, then it makes the whole thing a lot easier. While I'm thinking about it, the charcoal canisters, they are different. They have different fittings. That's it down there. That's square, where the GSRs have just push-on fittings basically. So if you plan on running a charcoal canister, when you legally should, you will have to change your canisters as well. Other than that, everything's the same. So I think I did mention that's your return line, your fuel return. So if you're putting a fuel pressure reg, like you can mount it, like I did it with mine, I think I mounted it here, or I may have mounted it here, but it's perfect. It's a perfect spot. But yeah, there are few differences in the Jumbuck. Even the brake booster is thinner. Master cylinder is taller, so it's a lot narrower. Where the Evo is, or even the GSR, it's a lot bigger and it's a fatter cylinder. So just little things that you might want to change if you ever want to put, fully build them up. Other than that, the brakes on these are the same size that you would actually see on a GSR, the 256mm rotors. So you don't really have to upgrade your front brakes because they're already a good size. Obviously the rear brakes are drums. That's the downfall with these. You can upgrade them to, you can put calipers on. I can't remember if I had a template or someone made something for me so you could actually bolt them on. It's a bit of work. You've got to get something CNC machined, and then you've got to change it all over. You've got to get your hub machine down as well to clear the adapters that you put in. It's a lot of work. It's worth it if you are keeping a front wheel and you want better braking. It is definitely worth it, but it's a lot of work. Yeah, so we're just plodding along. I can't think of anything else I need to say at the moment. Come back when I think of more. Alright, welcome back to another weekend. So, I can't remember what left you off. I know I did start putting the dash in. But, so yeah, dash is in. So everything's been rewired. The window switches, the mirrors, the central locking. I've had to wire in the new stereo. I've also cleaned up some existing wiring that was there. Everything bolts in, everything's working, including the wiring down there. The fuel pump, I've tested it, I have fuel coming out. Yeah, everything works. So it's fully been converted over to the Lancer dash. Just got to do a couple more things. I think he had Apple CarPlay or something. He wants to retain that, so I've got to try and figure out where I can mount that. Try and mount that controller. I still need to mount the boost gauge. He's opted for on the pillar, so I've just got to mount that. The wiring's there for it. I've just got to get the sensor through. Other than that side's pretty much sorted. So now I'm going to be moving on to, because I'm still waiting for the flywheel, we're going to mount the intercooler, get the piping sorted, get the bumper trimmed so I can get it all back together. Yeah. And then clean it up. Just finish a few more things off, and then yeah, we'll be pretty much ready to drop the motor in as soon as the flywheel turns up, gets machined. So I'll keep you posted. Alright, so when you're mounting the intercooler, if you've never done this before, and you have the factory piping, I would suggest you start with this pipe to get the cooler placement, because one of these holes, I think it's this one, is almost the perfect spot. So this is this is the original pickup on the Evo support, and in here is the original pickup. That's why I suggest it. So obviously if your piping's way too long, then it's not going to work. You're going to be putting an intercooler and just making everything work. You will have to cut that section out to clear this if you are running original piping. This is where like a silencing chamber is. It's not needed. It just quietens the whole car down. You will have to also notch some of this out as well, because the piping comes obviously over the top. If you're running a front standard style, it comes over the top, down, and then through this here. So you'll need to cut up around here. On the Evos, they're actually really skinny through here, this whole area here is gone. And then being a jumbuck also because of these. So if you're going to be doing a sedan conversion, these have to go as well. And there's a bracket that sits here somewhere on the Evo for the middle mount, which obviously we don't have on here, so we're going to try and make it work. But get this mounted, get the cooler on or next to it, work out your piping, and then just go from there. You can see what I mean. I've just got it hooked, hanging on. I don't know it has to come up, but you can see that hole. You can see how it all lines up perfectly. So that's roughly where that's going to sit. So I'm just going to make that hole a little bit taller so it sits a little bit higher. Alright, so I ended up moving it across, and now, as you can see, it's pretty much smack bang aligned. Oh, it's not quite in the middle, but it's way better than what it was. So now, this is where this is going to sit, is over this. So I'm going to squish this part here down to add more clearance, because this needs to be a lot lower. And then I've already marked up where I'm going to start cutting out in there first, just to get the pipe through, because this part of the piping also bolts to the body. That goes in right there. So I'm going to bolt these on, as you can probably see it there. I'm going to bolt that on just so I know where this piece needs to go and get it all to line up, so then I can get the cooler in the right spot. So it's starting to come together. As soon as I get the cooler where I need it with all the piping sorted, then I can start working on the bumper. I already know that I'm taking a fair chunk of this Rio out because I know it won't fit. I'm hoping I don't need to modify the grill too much. I do need to keep the Rio attached somehow. So these are going to bolt back in place. But yeah, we'll figure that bit after. And then I'm going to have to trim a lot of this grill down. So we'll see how we go. Alright, so it's taken me a fair while, but I have trimmed the bumper to fit the cooler. So there's been a few weird things with this cooler and piping kit. Oops. So I've had to cut it. So I'm just going to put a bead on that, and then I can put a joiner in there, and that will, sorry, probably saying none of that. I'll put a bead here, and then I can use the weld as the bead, and just put a joiner in there. So that will fix that problem, because it wasn't fitting. Nothing I was doing was making it fit. So something's been changed or something, I don't know. So, but other than that, it is lined up. So it will fit. Had to trim a fair bit. Had to trim all this out here to fit that there as well. Alright, let's put that down. So as you can see, it's pretty close there. Once I get everything bolted in, we'll see the Rio, get that very bolted. So the next step now is to get this to fit. So you can see I'm going to have to trim a fair bit of this grill section as well to make it all work. But it's getting there. It is getting there. Alright guys, so it's been about a month and a half later, and the flywheel finally turned up, so I had obviously did what I needed to get done with it. Last night we got it back together and in the car. So now I've got to hook everything up, get the oil cooler mounted somehow. I don't know what I'm doing with that yet. And then yeah, we can basically turnkey and test everything. So it's been a long process waiting for this flywheel, but we're seeing an end to this, so we're getting stuck into it, and yeah, hopefully we have a running car very shortly. All right, all hooked up, all in. Well, no, it's not hooked up. All right, so everything's kind of just on. I've still got to clamp stuff, you know, do that, make stuff fit. It's just all in there just to get it running. I've had it running, so I'll drop that in now. Yeah, still got to do. So, what else have I got to do? So, like I said, all the clamps. I've got to reconnect, shift the linkages. Still got to do the heater, hoses, radiator, get all that stuff in. Got to put the CVs back in. Obviously, fill up the gearbox, fill up with the coolant. Still got to mount the oil cooler. I've got it kind of sitting there. That's roughly where I want to put it. Just got to figure out how to secure it in there. Then I've got to do something with the hoses. Yeah. So it's getting there. So I'm hoping to have it almost driving tonight. But we'll see. And I still got to do something with the exhaust. So he's going to get a full system done anyway. So I'm just making it so it works. I don't know how I'm doing that yet. I might have to go get some exhaust stuff. I don't know, but we'll figure that out. So we're getting there. Right, so there's a couple of things you need to be aware of if you're plan on doing this conversion. If you're running a GSR motor in the Jumbuck. When I did my conversions, I had everything I needed, so I just swapped everything over. But if you're keeping a lot of the original gear, this is the sort of stuff you're going to need to also get when you get the conversion. So you will need the GSR feed line for the power steering pump. You don't really need to replace the pressure line, but you will have to unbolt it off the bracket that's down there and just pull it up to take the pressure off it, and then it allows all this to work. You will need the GSR fuel line, the main feed line, unless you're planning on running aftermarket like I did. I was running all AN fittings because the Jumbuck one, the whole angle, I don't know if you can see the difference, it's a lot longer, and it needs to sit like this more. That's how it bolts into the rail. So with the Jumbuck one, it'll only let it sit to like that. So I think I've said it before, it's easier with the Lancer accelerator cable because otherwise you have to build a bracket which sits all this further back. What else is there? I think that's the main items that you need to also swap over in with this sort of conversion. Obviously, if you want aircon, you need the original aircon for the motor, and then you need to make it all work on the Proton side. Now, every single Lancer I've ever looked at, or CC Lancer, Evo, GSR, they all have different aircon units, the way they bolt up. So every single one's different. And I know you can get custom lines made up if you really wanted to go that road. I think that's it. And obviously all the looms. If you're using the Mitsubishi looms with a Proton box, you'll need to reverse the pins on this. So I have it all wired. It should work, but because it's backwards, it's not working. So I'll have to switch the wires over. Yeah, I think that's it. So I'm getting closer and closer to having this bolted in. CV's back in now, the wheels are on. Just tightening up all the mounts, and then I'll start fine tuning everything else. So we're getting there. Alright guys, so pretty much we got this thing ready to go. I've had a few little issues along the way. Sorry, I'll get out of that sunlight. So this model has a couple of extra sensors. From what I've gathered, the early GSR were sensor triggered fans, and the later GSRs around the 94, 95 range were ECU triggered. This is pre, so I've had all sorts of issues with the thermo fans. There is a way to fix it. I've been trying to fix it, but I still can't get it to trigger. So we're going to be installing an aftermarket unit which will trigger the fans. We just set it up and then it's set and forget basically. So at the moment it's good to go. He's coming to get it, so at least he gets to enjoy it, and he does his exhaust and whatever else he wants to get done to it. So hopefully I've covered enough for everyone to know. Most of it's pretty straightforward. You know, some of it you kind of get the gist of. Some of the things that you kind of need to know of, hopefully I've helped. I won't know until I edit it down. So, but yeah, so this is its final form. He is planning on doing a sedan front end upgrade. So obviously all the interior. So yeah. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Hope it actually helped someone. Yeah, we'll see you on the next video.